Well, I did say I was going to do a video review of the Local Hero musical, which I went to see, just under a week ago now. I have written a full review of the production, which is linked to in the description. Just go down there, click on that, and you can see my fully written up review of the show. But just to sum up my thoughts on the musical, I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I genuinely loved it. I'm not used to musicals. I'm not a fan of musicals particularly. I tend to find them a bit kind of over the top and over expressive. But Local Hero, the movie, is quite a genteel, charming movie. And the musical reflects that. It's not in any way over the top. And those wondering how Mark Knopfler's music can work in the context of a musical, I think will be quite surprised at how well it translates to the context of a musical. You can tell that it's Mark's music. You can tell from the melodies, from the harmonies, from the chord progressions. And in fact, the guitarist in the band that's playing on this run sounds just like Mark, actually. You can almost believe that Mark is actually up there playing on the songs himself. But the songs work beautifully in the context of the musical, and they are performed brilliantly by the cast, and the cast is fantastic. Like I say, it's not over the top. There's not a whole load of dancing and a big light show or anything like that. The theatre itself, the Minerva in Chichester, is quite a small, intimate theatre. It only seats 310 people, so it's the perfect setting for what is quite an intimate and heartwarming kind of story. Some of the highlights for me in terms of the musical numbers would include the opener, A Barrel of Oil, which I suppose is a kind of a rock song really, and that's sung by the whole company. And I can well imagine Mark performing that one himself. In fact, I can imagine that with most of the songs. I can imagine Mark performing most of these songs himself. As I say, they sound like Mark Knopfler songs, and yet they work brilliantly in the context of this musical. They've translated so well to this musical theatre situation. The following track, Houston, We Have a Problem, is another favourite of mine. Very different to A Barrel of Oil because it's quite sensitive and quite thoughtful, and that's sung by Mac's character. He is played by Gabriel Ebert, or Ebert. I'm sorry, Gabriel, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but Mac was played brilliantly by Gabriel. I was hugely impressed. I mean, he was outstanding in that character, as was Lillie Flynn playing Stella, and she sings possibly my favourite track, my favourite song of the whole production, which is Rocks and Water, which is the track we were actually already familiar with, because when the run at the Old Vic was cancelled in 2020, they made a recording of Rocks and Water, a studio recording, available for those of us who had tickets to listen to. I think it's a beautiful song, and she sings it absolutely beautifully. It's difficult not to fall in love with her portrayal of Stella. It's hugely impressive. Other highlights would include songs like Filthy Dirty Rich, That'd Do Me, or What a Life, which is sung by Ben. Of course, Ben was originally played, he was the beachcomber who was originally played by Fulton Mackay in the movie, and he's played by Hilton McRae in this, and he's cast perfectly. The whole, all of the characters have been cast absolutely perfectly, and the cast is almost entirely different to what it was for the Edinburgh run back in 2019. But if you saw that run and were impressed by it, you needn't worry about the change in cast or the change in director. This production is directed by one Daniel Evans. Not that Daniel Evans, another Daniel Evans. They are just such a fantastic company, and they have, I detected real chemistry between these performers. They were all fantastic together. It's a relatively small cast, and the stage design also is quite minimalist. It's not the kind of musical that's there to sort of blow you away, and it doesn't need a big over-the-top sort of design. It's just got basic props. You've got the famous red telephone box there, of course, which is an integral part of the story, and they recreated the Furness Beach by removing bits of the stage, and this revealed some sand and a few stones. And so that's the Furness Beach, and it's the cast themselves that actually remove the staging in a sort of artistic manner. Another thing I was impressed by was the quality of the sound in there, in the Minerva Theatre. It was just perfect. You know, it wasn't too quiet, wasn't too loud. You could hear every word, every note perfectly clearly. And in terms of the sound, one of the things that impressed me the most actually was towards the back end of the story, when Happer's helicopter arrives, with the beating of the rotor blades and sand flying everywhere. I thought at one point an actual helicopter was going to come crashing through the roof. You know, it was mightily impressive, and I'm not going to go into it too much because my full review, as I say, is down there in the description. And I should also say a word about the band, because they do often get forgotten about because of all the action going on the stage, and the band are upstairs. But the band was terrific. They were the best possible group of musicians, I think, who could play these songs. And as I already mentioned, the lead guitarist in the band, Lewis Turner, he sounds very, very Knopfler-esque, to an extent that you could believe that Mark himself is up there playing. You can really hear the Strat tones and the Les Paul tones coming through that are very typical of Mark. So I was hugely impressed by it. Even if you're not really into musicals, if you are a fan of Mark's music and you're a fan of the original movie, I think you will absolutely love this. It was a wonderful production, and it really deserves to be staged in other locations so that it can be taken to a wider audience. I hope that it will go eventually back to London and possibly go on tour around the UK. That would be fantastic. So once again, my full written review is linked to down there in the description, should the mood take you. And I hope to be making another video for you in the not too distant future.